Well, the time has come, born reset to speak of other things. Like a fallen star who works in a bar where yesterday is king. Their fans will stay for an hour or so, they still remember his fame. But the time has come, the wall is set to call your fans by name. Oh yeah. Wow. Harry Nilsson, thank you much. Tell me sometime. Jesus won't help me dig the gold from that mine. Can't be bothered with a little pissant like you, Jack. I'm doing just fine. I gotta hold on, I can't. It ain't just about me. I need a heap more my son is sunny, his son's free. Guess what I'm really after is some kind of dynasty. Down with the rulers, down with their laws, down with these losers snatching gold from my claws. Down with the beggars shuffling down the street, living life on your knees, with no shoes on your feet. Some folks were just born to serve, and the other ones eat. Well, I've got plenty right here, enough to buy your little town. But with my feet in the sky and my head on the ground, set us off, you right there, Jack. It ain't going round. I set us off, you right there, Jack. It ain't going round. You right there, Jack. It ain't going round.
You guys are all originals at your age. What are you, 25?
I'm 21, he's 22.
Jeez, unbelievable. Really, seriously. It's impressive. Most bands your age are playing covers. Really good. I think I need help like drinking water at your age. I don't know. I could. You guys are babies. You write your own songs. It's impressive. So who's the writer?
Wow. We could see Ben was dedicated to music by, the 10 years that he played music. We saw that he came home and rehearsed every day. He'd go to rehearsal and he'd come home from rehearsal and start rehearsing. He'd go to piano lessons and come home. So it was never a question, is he dedicated to music and does he love music? But it was like, what's the next step? Are we gonna treat him like an artist, or are we gonna treat him like a kid that's really good? Or like a lot of people like to reduce it to he's naturally talented. And I'd say, well, if you played 70 hours of music a week, you'd be naturally talented too. Just to sort of point out, like, you're really downplaying how he's this good for a reason. It's about rehearsal. It's about setting expectations. I knew when he was going to be in a band that the band would be something. Because he was in these great orchestras. He wouldn't want to just be in a great orchestra and be in some ragtag band, play everybody else's music. He's already done that. He's been playing everybody's music since he started. So he's really hungry to do it. So how do you put him in that situation? You say, this is what you should do. You don't have to worry about a house or a car or what you're going to eat or clothes. You'll get some gigs, you'll learn how to be a band, you make some albums, you go on the road and decide. And in that period of time, somebody will sign you to a record label, or you just continue as an independent. I think my wife and I just said, we'll give you till you're 25 years old and we'll support you. And but you have to be serious about music. And at any time, we don't think that you're doing what you said you were going to do. We reserve the right to bring it up to you and see a change in behavior. And then if you're not where you think you need to be at age 25, we could reevaluate it. But, we want you to focus on music. It's something that most people don't get. If you leave high school with your musical training, a lot of parents say, okay, it's time to be an accountant. Go to Mizzou, get your accounting degree, and you can play music after you get out of college and do whatever you want. Or the kids that don't go to college, stay home, whatever, parents say, well, you could play music in your spare time, after you're done with your community college or your part-time job. And then you can do that music thing. It's not really encouraging, and it's not really a model that's proven to be a way for a band to get better. Because you have so many people in the band that can't get together to rehearse. They don't have the time after they're done with rehearsal to work on the next day's rehearsal, that is practice. And they don't have time to just be together and come up with ideas on songs. That's let alone sitting down and writing the songs and learning the music together. But you need experiences to write songs too. Sometimes it's hanging out, sometimes it's taking trips, sometimes it's things that's happening in individuals' personal lives. Whatever it is, you need time for inspiration. You can't be in the middle of an inspiring songwriting moment and say, hey, I've got to go make some lattes for the next 3 hours. Hold that thought. That kind of stuff falls apart. So we went with the way of the Renaissance. Let's be patrons to these budding artists and see if they can make it.
This next song is called Picking Up Speed. Laces of silver, laces of gold, laces of lies, and stories never told. Dressed in plastic and gasoline, count your money, money, American dream. If it all came down tomorrow, would you be prepared to share? If we were all poor, would you be a thief? If no one needed a leader, would there still be a chief? Where will you run to? Where will you hide? When the levee breaks, how will you pick a side? If it all came down tomorrow, would you be prepared to share? Have you seen the summer trees glow with 1,000 fireflies? Well, have you seen the fall of the winter snow before your very eyes? Well, have you ever seen the sunset on a beach in Mexico? Oh, well, you better see it soon, 'cause you won't see it there no more. Picking up speed, but heading the wrong way. Do we circle back round or do we hit the brakes? There's a lot of ways to start and only one way to end. But we better slow down before we hit this next bend. If it all came down tomorrow, would you be prepared to share? And when it's time to say goodbye to the plans you made back then, what does that try and lift your head? We'll go and start again. And then the night you force the door with your company affair. But now your chains are gone. The world is yours to win. Picking up speed, but heading the wrong way. Do we circle back round or do we hit the brakes? Where will you run to? Where will you hide? When the levee breaks, how will you pick a side? When it all falls down tomorrow, will you be prepared? Did you think it would last forever? Did you think it would last forever?
Hey.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
You know, while Ben was focused on orchestra, Dylan's been the lead singer of a rock band since he's been in 3rd grade. Ben's career, up until he and Dylan got together, maybe 9th grade, was symphonic music, classical piano, symphonic music. Dylan, on the other hand, was a rock and roller from day one.
First he puts his wig on and the makeup on his face.
Ben liked playing with them because it was a lot freer than symphonic music, and they were playing Jimi Hendrix and things like that.
I found a crystal sitting on your doorstep, hoping that you'd wear it on your keys. And next time that you make friends with Eddie Bent, I'm waiting for you to call on me.
They started spending more time together, and they liked each other's music. They were listening to the Beatles and Harry Nilsson and Randy Newman and Neil Young and Leonard Cohen. I mean, it was just crazy stuff that kids their age were making fun of. They loved classic rock, and they loved like the peculiar stuff. Like most people would only know Randy Newman from like Pixar films, Toy Story thing. They didn't know he wrote "You Could Leave Your Hat On" by Joe Cocker, or how voluminous his works are. I mean, he's a really prolific writer. And John Lennon said about Harry Nilsson, the greatest singer he ever heard. And so I like that these guys listened to that they thought, wow, this is worthwhile music, and they loved it. So they really, I think, fed off each other. Ben never sang. In fact, I never heard Ben hum. And then he's in a band with Dylan, and now he sings. Dylan really gave Ben the confidence to be a singer. Ben's a solid singer, and he's certainly a solid on harmonies. And Dylan gave that to him. And I think Ben gave Dylan the idea that you too could be disciplined if you did the work.
Bring that car, moving star. Oh no, no, no. They all say, walk this way. He walks on his own.
How Ben and Dylan got together, one of my friends was getting married. And I actually was in Argentina, I wasn't there. But he asked Ben and Dylan if they'd put a couple songs together for the reception. And he was a chef. And one of the songs was Mr. Charlie by the Grateful Dead. And another song was Ava Nagila. He was marrying a Jewish woman. She wanted that song. So it was a very varied playlist for a guitar and double bass. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm used to hearing like Kutsevitsky and Mozart, and I'm hearing Jerry, and I'm like, I know those songs. I was so happy. My oldest son is involved with team travel sports. So the way it works is your kid gets good in sports, and you want them to excel. So maybe their local high school team or junior high school, elementary team's not enough. So you get them to try out for like a select team where they have to earn their spot on the team, and then they play a little tougher competition. Well, it's the same with music. You get your kids in music and you want them to get better, so you pay for lessons and the equipment gets better, and suddenly you've got a lot of money and time invested in Little League baseball or piano lessons or double bass lessons. And this goes on for 10 years, and your kids get to the point where they've been in these travel baseball teams, they've been on the all-state team, and they've been in the all-city orchestra and the all-state orchestra, and you are really measuring only your little part of the world. So a lot of parents I know in sports get disappointed because they think little Billy's been playing baseball for 10 years, and he gets on this, he makes these teams and he travels, but he's not going to get a scholarship to Florida or Arizona. He could go to a Division III school or maybe a local university or a community college. And they feel like, well, wait a second, we spent all this time and money. You're telling me now it's just basically over? He's going to play intramural sports, and the disappointment's there. And you know, you would see that disappointment. Conversely, I don't think you see the disappointment with music like that for the most part. The kids do the same thing. They get good equipment and they play in these travel orchestras, for lack of a better idea. And then they don't get a scholarship to a good university or the top university or a music school. And they decide, well, you know what, if I can't go to Berkeley School of Music or Indiana University, I'm just going to go to the University of Kansas and study architecture. And maybe that cello just sits in my parents' house for the next couple of years. And the parents are saying, oh, that's okay. You know, get your architecture degree and, you know, you could play cello when you play it, maybe after, or you can get in a band or something like. It's not really encouragement. It's like resignation more than anything. And I just think it's funny because I have one son that excelled in music and another in sports. And I noticed that they're so similar in the involvement of the parents and what parents actually believe. And they don't measure themselves against the bigger universe. So my son that is in the baseball world told his brother, you know, the smallest percentage of people make it to the big leagues or make it to the major universities. And it's really about the discipline that the other people don't have. They nudge everybody else out because they are committed to what they're doing. They will do the extra rehearsal. They will do the extra lesson. In sports, you hear about these great basketball players, their fathers would say they would come home from basketball every night and shoot 500 free throws. And that's what separated them from everybody else in the state that they lived in, because this was the one guy that did this every night. So that's the discipline that separates every athlete and every musician. So I don't want to be the little league parent and have expectations that can't be managed, but I do think I could be that music dad that says, you have done everything that you can possibly do. Let's see where we can take this thing. And you know, his mother feels that way about both of our kids, and they seem happy. They're doing what they want to do. They're in control of their destiny, and they're good people.
It's funny how most cliches are true. There's one I always hear, and it makes me think of you. They say you never know what you got until it's gone. And because of that, I'm writing these words early in the morning when I was a little shaken at the time. Just sitting there, staring at the world turning by. Well, you must have had the blues, cause you thought I didn't care. Focusing on the silly things in each moment that we share. Now I'm lifted on the sounds of silly songs we used to sing. Looking over notes you wrote me in your messy handwriting. I wasted time because I think I thought that I had to be tough. But now you're up and on your way because I wasn't good enough. Well, you took me out and I met all your friends, but I overplayed my part and who I was just pretend. Whenever we were together I wore a mask upon my face. The only thing I wanted was to get out of this place. But where inside my head did I go wrong? Why could I not clearly see that you were the one? Well, the music that you played and the way you danced along, it makes me want you back. For now I know that I was wrong. Hey, now I'm lifted on the sounds of silly songs we used to sing. Looking over notes you wrote me in your messy handwriting. I wasted time because I think I thought that I had to be tough. But now you're up and on your way because I wasn't good enough. Thank you kindly.
The attitude came from my wife and I. You know, we had lost a son, and we just wanted happiness for our children. And we thought if they could do what they wanted to do, we should support them on that. So we had a different circumstance probably than most parents that brought us to this idea that, you know, life is fleeting and, you know, you should do what you can do to help your children achieve their goals, dreams, whatever. So I think we had to impart our philosophy a little bit on other parents of guys in the band. I don't think we forced it on them, but they saw that this was our attitude and we were understanding, and they looked at it like, well, maybe this isn't a bad idea, because I do think little Billy's an all-American baseball player. Maybe I should let him try out for the Yankees. So I think like the other parents say like, hey, our kids have proven that they do everything that the top people in their field do. They rehearse every day, they take lessons, they play music with other people, they listen to music, they read books, they read poetry, they are up on current events, they are up on politics. They're doing everything they can to be good writers. They're experiencing things and they have time to recognize that they're experiencing it, instead of having to rush off to Starbucks and make a macchiato for somebody, or rush over to a store and stock a shelf. So I think these guys understand that this is unique, and they don't want to blow that either. I think the way that they understand it is the way other musicians look at them when they find out that they've written 2 EPs and an album. They're 21 and 22 years old. We were at a show, the guy just kept saying, I can't believe you guys wrote all these songs. I can't believe you did an entire set of original music. How old are you, 20? Then he said, you write your own music. And while everyone's amazed with that, if you knew the support they have from both the community and their family and friends, music venues and restaurants and things like that, and the time that they devote to their craft, their art, dare I say, you would expect a good product. You would expect good musicianship, good songs, things like that. So I think it's like a synergistic feeling for my fellow parents and the guys, that we're happy that they're doing what they want to do, that they recognize this is a unique thing. They're being recognized by other musicians as being really talented and well-rehearsed and tight, as I hear everyone say, the band is tight. That's about the best thing you could hear. No, this isn't hyperbole. I've been living this with Ben, watching other people, musicians, fall by the wayside through the years, and Ben is getting better and stronger and developing in different areas. And to me, it's just really not proud dad syndrome, and it's not even, super fan. It's like opening up a book and reading it and wondering what's going to happen in the next chapter. And this is sort of what it's like with The Matching Shoe for me. I know I like the book I'm reading so far. I like the setting. I like the characters. I like the background stories and the secondary and tertiary themes. But I'm not ready for the book to end, because each chapter keeps getting better and better. And there's hope and there's intrigue and suspense and sometimes tension. And sometimes disagreements. But I guess that's what all life is about, and all stories that are told are filled with the same type of things. They're not all, 1950s Leave It to Beaver stories that all's well that ends well, and, it was just little bumps in the road. We've seen some, tension. We've seen different ideas on, with booking agents and with little stupid things, really. But when you put it all together, that makes a better story, that they have all these different things going on, and the trajectory is still going upward. And that's like a good movie plot or a good book plot, It's like they just keep taking you before you get to the apex or the turning point of the movie. You know, you should be totally hooked in, not be waiting like, geez, could they just say that the guy doesn't get his leg back and it was, the marriage fell apart or whatever it is. There's times in the movie you're just like, okay, it's time to we need some resolution here. It's like the story is run out. And I don't feel like with the story of the matching shoe that we're even close to getting to a turning point. The development of the characters and the plot have been very fun and have been very rewarding. I mean, being around these artists that care is very inspiring. I work in the fine wine world, and I work with people that create things that they want to be proud of, that are works of art, both in the bottle and the labels many times, in their vineyard properties. They're glorious places. And I think these guys want to create things like that too. And when you see them actually doing it, you don't really think about their age, or at least I don't. I think people from the outside might think about their age. I'm always thinking about, wow, these guys are really getting to do what they want, and they're creating beautiful things. And I'm glad I could be on the side and help them in any way I can to get them to be able to make more beautiful things. And that's truly like the essence of art. You know, we should be thankful that people are out in our world trying to make beautiful paintings or sculptures or films or songs. You know, they're doing the heavy lifting for us, that the world just doesn't have to be a hard concrete jungle. And in a really odd or maybe even a corny kind of way, I like the idea that the matching shoe is adding some of that beautiful element to the world, so we just don't have to live in a corporate world, or we just don't have to live in a world of cement buildings with, things going on behind it we don't know. I think that's really noble. And when history's written about the matching shoe, I think people will say they made some really beautiful songs. Or I love this one song that they did. Or I've always loved, Dylan's voice. Or I always loved the harmony between Ben and Dylan. Whatever they say, I think that's like the big payoff for making art. Other people get pleasure from it. And I see Ben and Dylan really love that idea that they're providing that. And the people that they play with, it rubs off on them. The other musicians that sit in with them, that are in their band, it rubs off on them. There's this attitude of, there's a sense of purpose. Some of it's serious, some of it's fun, but in the end, it's really beautiful. And that's the school of art that I like, putting beauty in the world. And that's what they're doing. And that's what they're going to continue to do. Very good. That's the goal. That's the goal anyway.
This next band is making their second appearance at Togo. They just released their second album called Right On. It's available now. It's a couple months old. This is one of my favorite acts to see. I love these guys. I hope you do too. Ladies and gentlemen, the Matching Shoe.
And their lyrics aren't childish. They have like some wryness to them and some, pretty big ideas. But I would always talk to Ben about if the song's not true, people know it. So and recently I said, you're really a good writer, not just songwriter. You're a good writer. You don't waste a lot of words. You can make big images pretty quickly. And we started talking about the different songs that they had written. And I liked Cowboy Film because it's really about that great American idea of going out west and freedom and exploring, leaving where you're at and taking it on the road, and really in a positive sense. And it's like that cliche from the movie, the guys heading out west, and but cliches all start off as the truth, and they just get told over and over, and it becomes cliche. But that was and still is the idea that people from the East Coast and the Midwest have this California fantasy. I'm going to head out there and reinvent myself, be a star, whatever. So they have like the line that's, I'm going to head out west like an old cowboy film. I'm going to saddle up that horse and I'm going to ride until the sun sets behind a hill, just like an old cowboy film. Again, great meter. I like the device that you're using where you're repeating a line from earlier part of that phrase, and it really is cinematic to me. I've seen that movie.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And it just plays into what you're saying at the conclusion of the song. You're caught up in the game of everybody else. You're feeling the same as everybody else, but you're still going out west.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so-
because it's sort of the song, you know, it has like, it hits on a couple themes with the I like to call it a modern day lament, because I feel like the first two verses really tap on that sort of
yesteryear.
The human condition, part of the human condition of wanting to be nomadic, you know, and just having that desire to, when you're tired of things, just to leave it all behind, and whether it's west or wherever, just to go, you know, because it's easier to forget things when you actually leave them. And I feel like it just really hits on that sort of that need and that want to travel away from things that may be holding you down.
Awesome. Let's hear this masterpiece, because I think it's a masterpiece.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Don't be such a proud, biased dad.
No, I'm a fan. I mean, this song, there's a few of your songs that I truly think, I don't think that they're just good songs. I think they're good writing, good poetry, good storytelling.
We try.
So let's do it from the top.
All right, ready? I'm gonna leave away from everything I know. I've got a photograph of you and my broken radio. I'm gonna hit the open road, 'cause it's the only thing I know, with my broken radio. I'm gonna go out west like an old cowboy fan. Gonna saddle up my horse and I will ride until the sun sets behind a hill. Just like an old cowboy film, just like an old cowboy film.
Took all my bags beneath the moon, and now I'm down the road. It's been a different tune. There's something that I've got to find, that someone must have left behind when they turn back too soon. The faces we pass by, but I'm never gonna know their names. Something told me where to go, and I know it's telling them the same, but I can't help feeling ashamed of being caught up in this game, when I know it's telling them the same. I took all my bags beneath the moon, and now I'm down the road and spinning a different tune. There's something that I've got to find, that someone must have left behind when they turn back too soon.
Thank you, Telco. We love you too.
Right.
Let's talk about the real good news. So remember we went and saw that thing at Joe's Cafe?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, I sent the guy some stuff, and he was, yeah, they're cute kids, but I don't do cover bands. I do like a kid showcase once a year. This was like last year, 11 months ago or something like that. So he was, yeah, it's like, so I'm just going to read all this stuff because I don't want to paraphrase anything because it's some pretty cool information. So it starts off, I sent him this email this morning at 9 a.m. Just checking back in with you. There's a filmmaker that's making a full-length documentary film on the matching shoe. They just released their first full-length LP of originals, too. They played the West Coast this summer, including the Viper Room in L.A. and the Huachica Music Festival in Sonoma, among other places. They are picking up the seasoning you correctly suggested over a year ago. I hope you will take time to see the recent songs that I'm including with this note. We want to get on the schedule. We will fill the room and blow some minds, including yours. Okay, so then I sent him a few clips, and he says, I'll look at it, but I'm overbooked already. Chances are slim, but I'll have a look. Well, we are grateful for that. I'm interested in your honest opinion of the group's development. Then he comes back an hour later. You guys are a lot better! Exclamation point. Frisco Line is a legit great song. Very cool psychedelic feel in an original song. Not easy to do. Love the harmonies. I like where you guys are playing too, in the city, in the country, and getting out and touring is so important. You guys are on your way for sure. The music business is just insanely hard to manage at this point. But if you don't have a manager, I would get one to help you with the merch, publicity, booking, etc. Nice progress. And get to know Shane Presley. If you haven't done a podcast with him yet, definitely prioritize that. Pop's Blue Moon would be a good place to play. The way you get to know Josh Loyal, who is a player in town. That way you get to know Josh Loyal, who is a good player in town. The band is all ready for the local great players to accept them into the club of great local St. Louis bands. Very nice job. They are really sounding great. Now that's pretty.
wow.
That's money right there, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that having the live professional recordings has been a huge plus in booking them in a variety of rooms. I cannot express how much your opinion means to us. I have taken the guys to see a show at Joe's because of the quality acts you put up. Always a great time. Quite honestly, I would like to get them recorded on your stage for the film, but I've never mentioned it to the director. It's an amazing set visually. I like the new LP and especially love Picking Up Speed. So I sent them Picking Up Speed.
Laces of silver, laces of gold.
20 minutes after getting it, he says, the only option at Joe's Cafe at this point is a straight-ahead rental. It's pay-to-play, which I hate, but it is available. I think Mary will charge you $500 to rent the place to musicians. We typically charge $15 to get in, so you get 100 people and you're in great shape. You could rent it on Friday or Saturday, depending on her schedule. She can be reached at this, and you tell her John Parker said, listen to you. I said, so much positive info here. Thank you so much. We will rent the place out because the filmmaker will like it visually. Do you happen to have the contact for Brad Jackson? I'll try to get the guys on for The Last Waltz. Shane is pretty big on them, and they've done 2 podcasts already, and they've played Pops. So then he says, he comes back to Picking Up Speed. He says, it's a nice song for sure. They are very White Album, and that's a huge compliment. So many bands up sounding like shit when they copy the Beatles, or they just come up across as unoriginal. These guys sound really true to themselves, and they are in their own talent level and can fly. It's really nice. It's really refreshing. One more super key thing, the Holy Grail is Pagan Productions. They do all the booking for the pageant, Delmar Hall, the Duck Room. Try to get them to open for a band in the Duck Room and work your way up. Try for a gig at the Halo Bar playing with a band that sounds like the Matching Shoe. That's the Halo Bar game. Get a band that the audience will like and that matches the main act playing the pageant. And definitely try to get in the RFT Fest. Lots of places to go with a talented band like this.